3, 2, 1.
Wisecrackers.
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 Wisecrackers. Starting now.
What up, y'all? It's Let's Get Crackin'. I'm little baby Jesus. I got Daniel above me, Cap over here, the upper right, Pat Rush to the right of me, and then we got the homie Rich, aka Richie, aka Res1, also here with us. We're going to be covering round 2 of March Madness. If you haven't seen round 1, go check it out. It's uploaded on the YouTube channel. Put some real effort into that, so definitely give it a watch if you haven't seen it yet. Today we're going to be covering round 2. So first up, probably game of the night, Houston versus Texas A&M.
Crazy game that was.
I kind of want to give it to the guy I heard screaming last night because of the game. Daniel, you want to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go. First half of this game, Houston, I believe, went up 43-38 at halftime, and all I could stare at was the stats of how many free throws A&M missed, and just being like, this cannot be the way that they lose. And then them going behind 8 and 9 and 10 and 7, and it just looked like Houston was just pulling away at the end. But all of a sudden, a minute 30 remaining, A&M goes on this miraculous run, miraculous three-pointers, some two-pointers, and hustle, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. Houston missing some key free throws, A&M actually making some free throws, and it ended up being, correct me if I'm wrong, being the first actual important buzzer beater of the tournament. I know it didn't result in the game winner buzzer beater, but it sent the game to overtime. I was screaming because it looked more probable that they were going to come back, and at the same time, at the last moments of regulation, it looked like they're about to blow it again. But then they tied it. Unfortunately, though, in overtime, Houston and Shed made some grown man moves, jumping into the paint, high in his elevation in the jump, getting a layup to go, and A&M just couldn't match the firepower. Even with this stat presented by SportsCenter was like, Houston had 4 players foul out. And the last time a team had 4 players foul out and they won a game was 1987.
Wow.
Yeah, 1987 as UTEP.
That was right. Okay, thank you. I was going to say, I remember the team, but it was UTEP. I saw that and it was just like, yeah, A&M lost, I believe, by 5. So literally, if they just made their free throws, we probably would be sitting here talking about one of the biggest upsets ever. But that's the way cookie crumbled. It was a fantastic game from start to finish, though. Surprisingly, it's high scoring than some NBA games this season. Like that one Sixers-Knicks game, that was 79-73. That everyone just seemed to forget about. I like games like that in college, even though there's some parts of the college game that reminds you like these guys are still young adults, amateur athletes. At the same time, I just like intense firepower on both sides, so I was sad because I picked A&M to go to my Final Four because I've watched them during the regular season and I know what they were capable of making it a close game. I just thought they were going to win. But hats off to Houston. They were composed deeper than what you think. Got some shooters too. Every time they were wide open, it just seemed like they were always making a three-pointer. And A&M was playing really great defense in the post too. It didn't matter. So hats off to them for the next round.
I think the thing with Houston is they're consistently like an 8 out of 10 at least team. They shot, 51% from the field. That's going to be tough to overcome. They made 70% of their free throws. Not great, but still better than A&M. A&M got out. They ran on them. Yeah, A&M got out and ran on them and gave them a hard time, and they got a lot of fouls. They got to the free throw line a lot, but only shot at a 64% clip. That's not good enough to beat Houston, I'm afraid. Houston shot more three-pointers and made more three-pointers, even though they didn't make them as good a percentage. I can't see Houston winning this tournament. There's teams that are just better than they are. Yeah, they're deep, they're well-coached, but they're just not as talented as some of the teams out there. They do what they do well, and, they're to be respected. But I think as the tournament goes on, like Texas A&M could have taken them out. They really could have, and maybe even should have. But I think as the tournament goes on and Houston come up against those teams that have got the same level of talent that they have, or more talent, that are as well coached, I think that's when they'll really find who they really are. And They've got some really good guards. Sheed was excellent in the game, probably the best player on the court. Roberts was good up top. The Sharp shot like
Sharp was not
I
missing.
think he had 30 points, didn't he? Didn't he
He
get
had
30.
30 points. Yeah.
7 of 14 from downtown.
Yeah.
Went
Yeah.
crazy.
So I mean, the only player, I don't know what his deal was, but that Francis just didn't literally nothing. Didn't understand what he was about. Like, but once they brought in Wilson and off the bench, it was just too much to handle. And as you say, they lost 4 players, fouled out, and they still
Yeah.
kept playing solid basketball. And that's
Four
just
Houston,
a tip of the hat to the coaching. It really
four,
is.
four Houston starters fouled out, and yet he still prevailed. But it was interesting to me. 5-point game with just a minute to go in the second half. Anderson Garcia of Texas A&M hit a 3-point to send into overtime. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But Houston still hangs on to win this thriller. And I don't really give any, like, I've seen deep teams that are made for the tournament, and I've seen teams that are helter-skelter, streaky teams. A&M's a tough team, so, like, when I see A&M take Houston to the wire, that doesn't have me, like, sell my Houston stock. It just has me be like, well, they went against a good team, and it took them 5 points to beat them.
Mm.
Like, that's how I see it. I don't come out of it thinking less of Houston because I knew A&M was a tough team. I knew they're hot coming into this tournament. I knew they're real willing to, make some noise.
I felt that.
But Houston have only got a certain level, and there's teams in this tournament that can reach a higher level than them. So for me, those teams would have to play to a lower level for Houston to beat them. That's where my rationale is.
Yeah, like my biggest takeaway from this game, it's got to go to the rebounding. Like the Aggies were
Yeah,
able to pick up for the poor shooting of their guards, Wade Taylor the fourth and Manny Abaski. I'm definitely butchered that. They combined 10 of 40 from the field. And for those to be your top 2 scorers in that game, or 2 of your best scorers in the game, you expect them to shoot that poorly and win this game. But the offensive rebounding is really what kept the Aggies in this game. Out rebounding this team 26-11. To get to the last shot, I believe they got like 4 offensive rebounds before they ended up getting the possession and the jump ball, getting the ball with like a second and a half left and getting it to Anderson for the 3. They were super poised. They continued to rebound the ball. They continued to run on fast breaks to get easy points. And even though they weren't able to hit a high clip of their free throws, they were able to hit some big time ones late in the game. And you got to give a shout out to Tyrese Radford. He balled out 27 points, 15 rebounds, 7 of them being offensive, and 6 assists. He was doing everything out there to try to get this team that W. And it just comes down to the fact that Houston was the better team throughout the game. It's just their heart was not all the way in it. And that's why I agree with you, Rich, when I feel like Houston is not the team that we thought they were all season. They're going to lose very soon because the rest of the pack right now is just a little bit too deep. And that rebounding woe, a lot of teams are going to look at that and they're going to be like, yeah, we have to attack them because they're weak down there. They're a small team. Their biggest guy on their starting lineup is about 6'7", so they're not going to be able to rebound with some of these teams.
if they come out against Creighton somehow, they're not winning that game. If they come out against NC State, I think NC State would be too physical for them. If they come out against Purdue or Gonzaga, I can't see them really winning that one either. So the interesting thing is, one of the teams that I would give them a good chance against, they're playing, which is Duke, because Duke aren't all that physical. So I think that game will come down to basically Houston will do what Houston do. They'll score at a good clip on that, and it's whether or not Duke can keep up with them.
They can match that.
And with that, we'll move on to the next game, which is the Battle of UT. That's Tennessee and Texas.
I thought this would be interesting. All-American Dalton Knecht leads number 2 Tennessee back to the Sweet 16 with a 62-58 win over Texas. Rick Barnes faces his former team in Texas in this game, as
Big
prior to
headline.
being a Volunteers coach. He would coach at the Longhorns from 1988 to 2015. That's a long ass time. The final 17 seconds of the second half, Texas is down 3, eventually getting to the point where they're down by just 2, and the clock was winding down. But Tennessee ended up going up 2 possessions, sealing the game at the free throw line, and doing so, the Volunteers make back-to-back Sweet 16 appearances for the second time in school history.
You got to give a shout out to Dalton Connect, because everybody knew going into this game that Texas was going to do everything in their power to stop him from scoring because he's a dynamic scorer. And they did a pretty decent job at that. Shot 5 of 18 from the field. But what he was able to do, he was able to hit those big free throws down the line to pretty much seal the game. And I feel like rebounding is the most underrated stat in college right now because that is what is going to be the difference in a lot of these games. And Dalton was able to get 9 boards, 3 of them being offensive. And in the second half, the Longhorns, like they were able to make a game of it. They were able to keep it very close. They were able to hit some timely threes, and they were way, way, way more aggressive on fast breaks. But Tennessee held the lead for this game for 36 out of 40 minutes. And when you're able to do that, it doesn't matter how well coached the other team is. It doesn't matter how much heart they have. If you're leading the game for majority of the game, you're most likely to win.
This is where it is, though, Cap. I completely agree with everything you just said there. But when you're playing Tennessee, it's a completely different game because Texas probably should have won that game down the stretch. Their full court press was excellent, and the way they drove back, it made for a fantastic game. But the reason that I picked Tennessee to win March Madness is because they've shown me time and time and time again that when they need to be clutch, when they need to squeak it out, when they need to play defensively, offensively, against the press, positional basketball, driving to the hoop, whatever it is, they can do it. They are a supremely coached team, really balanced. They've got good defensive guards that maybe don't score at the clip they should, which is where connect. So basically, in Vescovi and Ziegler, they've got 2 really good defensive guards. I mean, I think they got was it 8 and 2 points. That's not good enough. But because of the impact that they make defensively and because Connect's able to carry the scoring, and they got enough out of Adu and James and a whacker off the bench, they were able to win the game. If I've got a problem with Tennessee, it's that if you can come out and just blitz them, they haven't got enough firepower to keep up with you.
Yeah.
That's their biggest thing. But because they're so good defensively, because they're so organized, because they're so well coached, very few teams are able to just run away from them. When it comes to March Madness, I like a team that can get it done in multiple ways. And Tennessee, for me, are that team. But I'm not going to lie, I was sweating against Texas.
It's not a lot of.
But when it
is too.
when it came to the clutch, they stepped up. When it came to the clutch, they stepped up, and that's what they always seem to do.
Yeah, definitely. For most of that game, I thought Tennessee was going to actually end up winning comfortably, but as Texas kept coming back and cutting the deficit, I started to feel like I don't know if Tennessee's are they gonna like you said, Rich, are they gonna clutch up like they've known to do in the regular season and in the tournament or whatever? But I think when it came down to I don't know who shot that 3 for Texas, but I thought it looked good. And once that missed, and you said Connect hitting those clutch free throws, it was like, yeah, I think Tennessee could end up making at least the Elite 8 in my opinion. But like you said, if someone decides to like we're just gonna go all out blitz and try to run like 7 seconds ish type offense. I know in college like the shot clock's 30 seconds. So maybe a little bit more than 7 seconds. But you get what I mean. It was one of those teams where I could see them making the Final Four, but I also could see them losing the Elite 8. That's just my take.
I think you're gonna have to put up at least 90 to beat this
like that
Tennessee
range
team.
you see how they only shot 3 for 25 from the three, and they still was able to squeak out this game. Like
Yeah.
that is super
I'm
impressive.
crazy, but I think Gonzaga can upset Tennessee.
I feel like Gonzaga could upset anybody. Let's be real. Like they're one of the most
Would that even be an upset?
Yeah. I don't,
Yes.
well, I
Two
mean, don't they
overtime.
have to play Purdue first?
Yeah, they
No,
do. But
seeding wise, it'd be an upset, but I don't think
Yeah.
it'd be an upset for Gonzaga
Oh.
to beat Tennessee. I see those two teams as very even.
Oh, okay.
And
I
I
see
think
it as a little
Tennessee are a
bit.
better team overall, but
Mhm.
I think people have slept on Gonzaga this year because it was all the idea of, oh, they can't get it done. They didn't get it done last year. They didn't get it done the year before.
Right.
This team has a togetherness about it.
Mm.
They look more like they're playing for each other rather than playing under the same pressure. They look
And
like they're more
yeah.
than aware of the pressure. They've accepted it and it's pushing them rather than. I mean, against Kansas, the pressure was on against Kansas and they just blew them out the water.
Kansas without its best player, though. I feel like an alternate universe, and we'll never know. It's counterfactual. If Kansas had its best player that we talked about in our first round one segment, who knows?
Yeah, we
where
can
Kansas
we
would be.
can say that about everyone now. If Florida had their big man, they probably are still in the tournament. It's just March Madness.
Yeah, and Dickinson was playing with the hurt shoulder the whole time too, so we could like Rich said, and I agree with both of y'all. Like alternate universe, but also could do that with the different teams too. But
If the refs don't screw Sanford, Kansas aren't even in
They're
the
not.
next round.
I'm having another conversation about it. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You can
but-
do this all day.
Yeah, but in terms of Tennessee and Texas, I just think Tennessee a little nervous down the stretch, but it
Mhm.
shows their defensive resilience that they ended up pulling it out at the end. So yeah.
Next year they'll be facing each other in the in the SEC.
That's
They'll
true.
be facing each other in
Crazy. Crazy to think about that. I think that could become a rivalry.
Mm,
Be a good one.
Easily.
The battle of
I
the
do
Two
want-
teams that aren't like basketball blue bloods, but are starting to be known for being well coached, and they've made a little noise this year. I think that could be something to watch in the future. That
And then
Mm.
their coach used to coach UT for so many years. So that's
Yep.
another thing too.
Rick Barnes.
and like you said before, it's the battle of the UTs.
With that, I believe we're going NC State and Oakland.
I guess I can start it off. I just want to also just say real quick, I hate that Colorado lost to Marquette. I felt like there was a chance for them to beat that team, and I've been feeling like Marquette's been squeaking by for a little while. But that's how it is, the tournament. But Oakland,
I was quite happy about that.
of course you were. I know you were. You didn't even want to come in the first place.
Let's go, Colorado State. I've got your back.
But man, Oakland and NC State, this was a heartbreaker for me because I was rooting for Oakland heavy. Jack Goldkey was the man in the first round. He shot the ball. Like, let's just say that.
He shot. Yeah, it's a good assessment.
And
Listen, I'll give him this though. Shoot is shoot. He was never going to stop shooting.
that's a fact.
He kept.
That was
Yeah.
a fact. But one thing that will be said is DJ Burns is a man amongst boys, bro.
Oh yeah.
Was just too much for Oakland in this game. Had 24 points, 11 boards, 5 offensive rebounds, just a superhuman out there, bro. And it got to the point where the only way they was able to stop him was putting 2 full bodies on
Yep.
him.
Yep.
And granted, that helped
And
Oakland.
even then,
Yeah.
He still
That
somehow found a way. Yeah.
A little bit of a run. They was able to tie it up. They was able to even force OT because nobody was able to get a good possession off. And in my opinion, I feel like the ball was off of Bro's hands on NC State, and it should have been Oakland's ball.
absolutely.
But
Thank you, Cap. Tell him. Speak on it.
it's just the way the cookie crumbles nowadays. The referees go into business for themselves, man. And when Goki sat here and said that we're not a Cinderella, I feel like he put the entire college world on notice. And sometimes things happen. I'm not sitting here saying the R word, but things happen. And the Wolfpack was able to take advantage of the fact that they got 5 more minutes. They were the more well rested team. They had a deeper rotation. DJ Burns was still getting heavily double teamed, but what ended up happening, he was able to pass out that double team, and it was open threes galore in overtime. And Oakland was not able to hit the three ball at all. And Trey Townsend was only able to do but so much. Great game from
Oh,
him.
shout out to Trey Townsend. No, what a game he had.
Absolutely fantastic. I would love to see where he goes. If he goes into the draft another year, if he stays another year, go get that game a little bit more polished. I would love to see him in next year's draft.
Maybe the portal.
Maybe.
Go to Michigan State.
Contender.
What did you say, Pat?
I said if he's listening to this, go to Michigan State.
No
we
one's
had
going
the
to
best-
Michigan State, Pat.
Because
In
Oakland's
basketball, they will. Yeah, they will in basketball.
Maybe NIL money could talk.
I don't know. I don't think many players are going to want to leave
Good
Oakland.
comeback, Pat.
Michigan.
With that, unless anybody has any more to say about this
I-
game,
I have
Go
one
ahead.
more thing.
go ahead.
It's not so much about the overall game. So Rich and Cap. So y'all thought that was Oakland's ball?
Yes. When they
Okay.
showed the zoom
Are you talking
in,
about
you
the
could see his
fingertip?
little finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see his
Okay.
little finger go
'Cause-
backwards.
Because my brother and I were watching that at the end, but we also saw, even though there was the fingertips, we also saw the other guy's hand still hold on to the ball.
Still pushing off.
That's why
after.
I thought it was NC State's ball.
But the ball had left his hand when it
It did?
hit the little finger. I
It
think
didn't
so.
look like it from the angles I saw.
It should have been actually Oakland's ball.
Like the angle is everything. And I feel like that's the reason why the referees weren't able to really, pinpoint and just went the other way. But I felt like when you think about the way physics is set up, bro, the way the ball went, it came off his hands, bro. Like if it doesn't come off his hands the way it comes off his hands, it's probably going to Oakland anyway. It doesn't go out of bounds like the way it does. So I digress.
It's one of those
I mean,
things.
I can see why they didn't though, because once the call's been made, it has to be like
Conclusive.
absolutely conclusive. And the fact that we're arguing about it now tells you that that's not the case. So even though I'm pretty confident that it came off him, I only saw it that one time on the replay. So
It's also
do
one
I
of
know?
those things where, like in an NBA game, when they review a call, it's something that you could not see with the naked eye. So it's kind of like almost bullshit in a way. If you were playing this before slow-mo.
it was when they zoomed in, though. That was it. It was when they zoomed in and I saw his little finger go backwards. I'm like, your little finger doesn't go backwards unless the ball hits
Smack
it.
fingers, yeah.
Yeah, but on to the next, which...
One more thing on that game, NC State aren't going any further. They've had their luck. Every team that's been lucky or had a decision go their way that maybe probably shouldn't, they've ended up going out in the next round. So let's hope that continues.
It's also, I don't know if sad is the right word, but I just expected more double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16. Like in my bracket, I had Grand Canyon and James Madison in the Sweet 16 because I was just.
I mean,
I've
I'm not
seen
going to
too
say
many
that.
upsets.
That was brave. That was brave.
Hey,
to say the least.
I remember.
I like it. No guts,
I
no
remember
glory.
the St. Peter's run. I remember the St. Peter's run. I remember the Florida Gulf Coast run in 2013. Like I'm just like I.
Yeah, I remember.
How about
I remember
Golden
the.
Retrievers.
Remember Wichita State and VCU?
Yeah, those two teams too. So I was just
What about the UMBC Golden Retrievers?
16 seeds also. Right, exactly. So when I saw NC State was the only double-digit seed, I agree with you though. I don't think they beat Marquette.
Marquette are actually better than Clemson. Baylor, fantastic game. Baylor's guards really showed up. Clemson, as I've said, dark horses to win the entire thing. They're very much like Tennessee. They can beat it any way that you want them to. They shot well from the line, and that was the real difference. They were tidy. Basically, they were just tidy. They rebounded at a good clip against the team that it's hard to rebound against. Massive shout out to Shefflin and Hall, who were both excellent.
Yeah, I heard a whole bunch of arguing earlier because, Baylor lost a couple of people some money. And one of my homies just so happened to be a Baylor fan. So, he had to let it be known, like a star player, he choked. He missed two big time.
I was about to bring that up. Like,
I guess
man, I
he'll
gotta
have to
feel so
bear
bad
with
for
it.
him. Yeah. If he
Yeah,
makes
I
those
get
free
it.
throws,
Bear with
man.
it. But with just 38 seconds left in the second half, Clemson is only up 66-64 over Baylor. Sorry for the camera angle.
Clemson with tigerish.
Clemson ends up clinching under free throws. Like,
Yeah.
I was really disappointed in Baylor. Not that I thought that they were going to win it all. I just thought
Why
that
were you disappointed? They played really well. You just got beat by a better team on the
they
night.
lost and hurt my bracket, so I'm disappointed.
Well, Pat, on one of my brackets, Michigan State messed up mine in the first round, so you should be
Well, I
happy.
think we can all agree.
It's your fault for having Mississippi State.
I think we can all agree that nobody's bracket was hurt more by Michigan State than Pat's. So, with
They played North Kakalaki. That's kind of what happens if you play a team full
Well,
of.
I'm sorry, but that's what happens when you can't shoot. Well coached team, defensively sound, couldn't shoot.
Can't shoot a
We can
lick.
keep the lights out against like Mississippi State, but this isn't a Michigan State topic. We're talking about Oregon versus Creighton next.
yep, we sure are, Pat. So
All
yeah,
right, Creighton outlasts Oregon 86-73 in a double overtime thriller to earn their spot in the Sweet 16. The Oregon Ducks former coach Dana Alleman used to coach for Creighton before taking the helm of the Ducks job. Baylor Sherman of Creighton ties the game at the end of the second half, and the game goes to overtime. The first overtime ended with both teams tied 71-71. Creighton had a chance to win the game in the closing seconds of the first overtime, but missed a shot. In the second overtime, at one point, Creighton was up 8 points. They overcome Oregon 15-2 in the second overtime. I think in the second overtime, Oregon was gassed. And that's why we didn't see the Oregon that like Russ One and I were high on our last episode like 2 days ago. Because they're just
Cousinard was
tired.
missing those shots that he was making earlier. It was like, yeah, I could tell he's tired.
To be fair, though, he did make the shots to get it to overtime. I think he was just gassed from having
think it
to
was
carry
just-
the team
yeah.
for all that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the Pac-12
Back-to-back
tournament.
games.
And in the Pac-12 tournament.
I mean, to be fair, I would be gassed too if all of these players on my team and we only get 13 points from everybody except for
Dante and
Jermaine.
Dante, that's what's okay. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and just call him Jermaine. Jermaine, 32 points, 8 boards, man, and gotta give a big time shout out to Dante, bro. 28 points, 20 boards, 20 rebounds.
20 boards is crazy. A 20-point double is a crazy performance. Hats off to him.
You know, Russell Wilson in his first day officially in Pittsburgh, he had a great time. He got to see 2 overtime games. He enjoyed himself. He got to see this super banger right here, bro. Like, this game was crazy. Bro. It really is just like heart and grit versus a well-oiled machine, because Creighton was just out there just balling, bro. Like, if you look at the box score, if you look at the stats, you would think there's no way this game goes to double OT, but bro, the heart of those 2 youngins on Oregon, bro. You just
I feel like Creighton has a whole bunch of Caucasians that can always splash a free. And that's
They
their like bread and butter.
the McDermott effect.
The McDermott effect.
they
Could do a few with them in Michigan State.
It's okay. We got players. I like Jaden Akins. But if they want to come into transfer portal
The angry
to
little
Big Ten
Spartan.
facilities, they want to come to Big Ten facilities and great Hall of Fame coach.
I don't think they would want to leave Oregon to go to Michigan State. Have you ever
You'd be
seen?
surprised. You understand, like Michigan State's a huge brand in college basketball, right? You don't get that.
Have you ever seen them locker rooms?
Yeah,
bro? I would.
yeah,
never.
Oregon is a
Oregon's
huge
by
brand.
night.
Have you ever
general.
seen? I mean, I know Matt and Dan can relate to this because they're Spurs fans, so they've seen like an arena full of banners. But I'm sure you and Rich haven't. Like, going to Michigan State, seeing all those banners. It's amazing.
Calm down.
What, 2
It's not
banners?
2004.
And also too, Cap. I seen the Quicken Loans Arena. The Pistons have more banners too.
Are they even called that anymore?
No, they're not. They're called Rocket Mortgage.
That's even worse.
Cap,
That's
as
even worse.
soon as you're able to, go see a Duke game in person, I think
You can take pictures of the banners. And
Yeah,
then
those
do
are
that,
more
man.
banners for. Yeah.
That's for sure.
than everyone. So.
to talk about baseball and football. You know, my team's got banners for days on those. I don't know about yours so much. Maybe the Tigers got a couple, but
The
how about
Tigers
the
has some. The Tigers has some banners.
how about the Lions banners? How those shits?
And oh
look?
yeah, how are you getting into this with Cap's a Duke fan and you're talking about banners?
But I actually went to Michigan State. That's the difference. Like,
Oh,
so that's what the argument is about.
The elitist attitude comes to the fore.
He says I'm a blue blood. In my veins.
Huh?
look at my veins. Look at my veins.
Yeah.
I thought you
Every
didn't
time.
want royalty in America. What's happened? Why the sudden change of heart? Gone all regal on us?
I'm not
Damn.
regal. I'm not regal. Definitely, I'm wearing like the same Urban
Yo, you
Outfitters
guys
hoodie I've
know-
had for 10 years.
Yo, do you guys know that Oregon only shot 5 free throws and that was all Dante, who went 4 or 5 from the free throw line?
I did not know that. I didn't know it was all him.
Nasty work.
Ridiculous.
He
Crazy.
says he's blue collar, but me thinks he's blue blood.
Like, Creighton didn't have that many,
Hey,
but they shot 13 or 14.
look,
Yeah,
just because I can buy appetizers now, it doesn't mean I went sold out on my roots or anything like that. You know.
So yeah, if you're watching this and you're in the tournament, consider going to Michigan State. But if you don't come, they don't need you. You know, they can shoot the lights out. They got banners.
Either way, I win. You know, like if they come, fantastic. If they don't, well, you know.
Truly hilarious fact.
We'll be covering Sweet 16 on Saturday. Yeah. And then the following Monday, we will be covering the Elite Eight, I believe. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.